Just adjusting to the scheme that we're putting in place for Ole Miss. So just getting used to that day by day as get better.
They tell you need to get down after that interception at the end?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, we talked about that. We practiced that a lot. I was just excited. Still kind of young. That would never happen again.
You guys all had a moment back there in the secondary. You had an interception. Cam had one and 2 sacks also. And, Jarquez had an interception. What do you think about y'all's play overall?
Overall, it was well. That's what we talk about every day at practice. We're trying to be the best secondary in college football altogether. We're trying to do numbers this year. We're trying to run it up a lot this year in those categories, and everything else.
Did you come out of the game on defense?
Oh yes, sir. Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
So could you describe the interception and what you saw and how you reacted on that?
Well, I kind of knew he wasn't gonna come to my side, because it was trips 3-by-1, and I kind of just read the quarterback, and he threw it to the number 3 up the middle, and I was right there to make the perfect play.
What's it like to get the blitzing calls that you and Cam both got some?
To be put in that position, that's something I always wanted to do. Watching Tyrann Mathieu, of course, he was in that scheme with Chief and Coach Coop. So, just for us to come off the edge and send that pressure, that shows we can come down and play in the box, we can cover. It just shows a lot of things that we can do.
What do you see?
To our newest social media link. You can catch us on Spotify. Also, too, you can catch us. We came in with a little audio from last evening's media availability with sophomore safety Joe Fouché. And for those that just heard our audio, Joe, I know, Demetrius, we listened to it multiple times. I was in attendance. We always are there. But talking of this man, Joe Fouché, I'm telling you, this is a different football player. From where Joe was his freshman year to where Joe has arrived at now, I'm seeing a different kid. I'm seeing the maturation process. And they always say your freshman year to your sophomore year, you take a big jump. That's really, really evident with this young man. I mean, this young man comes from the same high school as Tyrann Mathieu. He looks up to the Honey Badger, hence the reason why he wears number 7. Also, too, was recruited by Ron Cooper, a former LSU defensive back coach during the time at the Honey Badger, and multiple young men that were coming through that program from the state of Louisiana, and in particular in that New Orleans area, played under Ron Cooper. And Demetrius, he made a statement that they want to be the best secondary in the country. And this is coming from a sophomore. This is not coming from a guy that has a lot of experience on the football field. But this is coming from a sophomore kid. And that just goes to show, when we talk about these younger guys, that 52, underclassmen. They're a different breed, and they really want to do something to help the program get back to what they think it should be, which is on the national scene.
Yeah, I think these guys definitely have the potential. When you look at guys like Monterey Brown, All-American coming out of high school. Buster Brown coming out of high school, he was All-American. Then you look at Joe Fouché, highly talented out of Louisiana. Then you get Cameron Curl, also highly rated at a high school. You have the potential and skill set to be definitely a top defensive back group in the SEC.
I mean, when you look at the secondary, there's not a senior in that back end, and you have to feel real good if you're the chief and that defensive staff and Coach Morris for the way you've gone out during your time here, and we're able to recruit the type of talent. Now, I know when you talk about Buster Brown, you talk about Pac-Man McClellan, you talk about Cam Curl. Those are guys I think that were recruited during the Bielema era, but they were recruited and to play. And I think they feel better in this system where they're able to use their speed, their ball skills, and really their aggressiveness. And like you said, Demetrius, great point. Joe Fouché plays very, very physical, very reckless, under control, but at the same time, he made a statement during fall camp, and I can remember it, that the game starts to slow down. I think that's the biggest thing for Buster, who had the red shirt and is a sophomore going into his sophomore year, third year on campus. The game is starting to slow down, and that only helps. And you have to get game experience. And I think with the more game experience that this defense and this secondary in particular starts to get, because they have the younger guys, but the guys that are out there starting are going in their second and their third year of being in this program, second year under Coach Chief and staff. But, that has to continue to grow. And I think they are going to eventually work themselves into being one of the elite secondaries in the SEC and on the national scene, because, as he said, they want to do it as a collective group. And that's what this culture is built on. Chad is starting to bring in that family culture where guys are starting to play with one another. And this just exemplifies, just what this program's starting to build, don't you think?
Definitely, and you always make the point that these guys are going to be in the system for another 1 to 2, max 3 years. So I think when you look at the defensive back, you have to have a positive insight. Now, I think this week, we're coming up against Ole Miss and coming up against these future SEC players, I think you're going to have a better understanding of where they are. Because, yes, they did look good against Portland State, but I'm really ready to see how they function in a game where there's admirable physical competition and it's even across the board.
We're going to get this set up. We have coming up in the next segment, following our media availability, we had a chance to talk to Trey Knox, freshman wide receiver, and get his take on game one, how his nerves were working. Also, too, following that up, we're going to talk a little Tennessee football, find out just what's the temperature in Rocky Top. We'll find out that with Blake Topmeyer of the Knoxville News Sentinel. He's coming up next. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins, and it's our Wednesday edition of On the Hill. And you know what I say? Let's get it.
Just got out there and had the experience, been sitting out for a little bit, so it felt good to get my feet wet and just play.
Yeah, how did it feel watching your teammates practice without you for a little while?
It hurt just because I wasn't able to move around and, do a lot of stuff. But I was taking very detailed mental notes of what I needed to do to prepare for the game, so I think I did a good job at that.
Did you expect that many snaps on Saturday?
Oh, I did not, but I'm glad I got them. Got my conditioning back right, so I feel good going into week 2.
You were thinking what to do with that ball. Did you drop? Thinking what to do after you caught it?
Yeah, we needed that one. It was a 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, and came across the middle. I didn't think it was going to get through, but I should have been prepared for it, but it's not going to happen again. So,
what y'all got to do to increase production, get more points on the board?
We're just going to keep doing what we're doing. We have a great plan for this week going into this game Saturday, and I think we're going to stick to that, and we're just going to try to score as many points as we need to win the game.
What are you seeing out of that secondary for Ole Miss?
They're new DC. They like to run a lot of zone, but they're very aggressive. They have players that have been playing in this league for a couple years now. Mm-hmm. So we just got to attack that and use their aggressiveness against them.
What's it like to have you and Traylon both, getting starts and earning your way into that lineup?
It's very it shows what we have coming in the future, and just to get our feet wet for this year, just to know that we have a couple more years playing in the SEC.
How much better do you expect to be in game 2, and how will you be better?
I think we're going to put a lot of points up this game. Coach Craddock's been preaching he has a great plan, and I believe it. And after watching the film and just last week's game, I think we can go in there and really dominate on the offense side of the ball.
A big plus for Hicks was that he's able to line you guys up where you need to be and everything. How was that on Saturday?
Oh, it was good. We didn't really have that many times where Ben had to do that. We've been studying the playbook and just meshing as a group. But Ben is a tremendous leader out there, and he knows exactly what he's doing with the offense. So that always helps.
Was there a level of frustration that y'all didn't score as much as you wanted to on the first game?
I mean, yes, but we just know that we got to get better, continue to get better throughout the season. And I think we'll be putting up many more points as the season goes along, so I'm not really worried about it.
How do you feel your chemistry is with him after camp and what you have with the spring?
Oh, I think it's through the roof right now because, he came here in January, or not really, but later along those lines, and I was here, so we got to throwing before spring ball even started. So I think that helps a lot. He's leading the team like he should. He knows the offense. He's been in it for 3 going on 4 years now. So I think that helps us and getting behind him and rallying behind him to be our starting quarterback.
You're saying in Friends in Low Places that Women's Clinic, is that just from the Nashville influence?
Yeah, it's 615, shout out. But yeah, that's me. Love country music, big influence. Nashville's really down the street from where I live, so we go up there all the time, hang out, listen. Luke Bryan just shows up sometimes and just plays, so I'm a big Luke Bryan guy, so I love country music.
What's your personality overall and how you like to approach things?
I'm a happy-go-lucky guy, if you couldn't tell. But I just approach everything with a smile because everything could be worse than what it is. So, I'm blessed to be here. I'm blessed. God has put me in a position to do his work. So, I can't complain.
You kind of contrast Traylon.
Welcome back. It's our Wednesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, and we want to get this thing, and we're going to take a trip. A lot happened in Rocky Top this past Saturday with the Tennessee Volunteers as they were shocked, and I mean shocked, by the Georgia State University football program. So we thought we'd catch up and find out what's going on down there for the Tennessee Vols and catch up with our good buddy, Blake Topmeyer of the Knoxville News Sentinel. Blake, welcome to OTH, my man.
Hey, Pat. How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Talk about the pulse of things that on that campus coming off such a very shocking upset on this past Saturday.
I'd say the fan base really is aghast at what happened, and I think the players get that. I think they're aware of the reaction. I think they feel that way. Nigel Warrior, Tennessee's starting safety, said it perhaps best after Saturday. He said he felt flabbergasted. And I think that's how pretty much everybody around Knoxville, around Tennessee, anyone associated with this program felt after Saturday. Because I think what was most troubling for Tennessee on Saturday wasn't just that they lost, and that's troubling enough, but it was how they lost. This wasn't a case of like all the stars aligning and like miracles happening for Georgia State. Like they just simply outplayed Tennessee throughout the 60 minutes of that game, and that's concerning. The fact that it didn't take a series of miracles for this upset to happen. All it took was, just the way things unfolded Saturday, that Tennessee got outplayed, and that's troubling for the Vols.
How do you solve that issue, Blake, if you're Jeremy Pruitt and staff? It's quite obvious before Jeremy took over. The culture had kind of started to be really fragile. Or during his media availability with you guys, what are some of the things that he sees has to be corrected heading into this big ball game, which I think is a must-win versus BYU on Saturday?
Well, yeah, to your last point, I agree. This is a must-win. If you start the year 0-2 before you've ever even played an SEC game, that's really not a good spot to be in. And if people weren't hitting the panic button before, they will be then. But in terms of Pruitt, I think there was a lot of self-reflection and the message of looking in the mirror. And I think that, and he's admitted this, that starts with the coaching staff. This looked like a team Saturday, especially defensively, that was ill-prepared. I mean, Georgia State returned its starting quarterback last year. This is a dual-threat guy. He's really good at running the read option and the speed option, so you have to know that's coming. And Tennessee came out there on Saturday and looked like they'd never seen a read option or speed option play in their life. I mean, just missed assignments, mental errors at every level of the defense. I won't say, I've heard some fans say it looked like the effort wasn't there or that the Vols quit. I don't agree with that. I think the effort was there.
Right.
But there's a difference between playing hard and playing smart, and between playing hard and playing well. And although I think the Vols were playing hard Saturday, they often didn't know what they were supposed to be doing, didn't know how to do it, and so playing hard hardly mattered. And I think that's got to start with coaching. You can't put an ill-prepared team on the field on a fall Saturday, or you're going to get a result like Tennessee faced this last weekend.
Blake, I've heard multiple media outlets around the country mention that maybe the talent isn't there. I'm of the belief that there's a lot of talent. I think Butcher Jones did a great job, was unable to motivate the kids, in my opinion. Jeremy's come in and really continue to elevate the recruiting side of it. Is it a talent issue or just the cultures? It's going to take some time for Jeremy to get that thing, the way he wants it.
Yeah, I don't think it's strictly talent. I think there are certain positions where they're maybe a little bit talent deficient, in particular on the defensive line. I think they're a little talent deficient there. But up and down the roster, I think there is enough talent there to be competitive, to field a competitive team and to contend for a bowl game. I mean, coming into this season, I certainly didn't think, and I don't think most rational people thought this was a team that would contend for the SEC East.
Great point.
That being said, I think it was a fair expectation that this team had the talent to win 6 or 7 games and to show improvement as compared to last year. I mean, you look at last season, this was a squad that went out, upset Auburn, upset Kentucky, won 5 games, and pretty much the entire offense from last year is back. They didn't hardly lose anybody on offense from last year. Now, they did lose some key pieces on defense, but I do think, by and large, the talent should be there to, again, be a 6 or 7 type win team. And so I don't think that, it all can come back on that. And I'm with you. There's talent in this program. It's not great talent. It's not Alabama talent. It's not Georgia talent. It's not Florida talent. But there's enough talent for Tennessee to be more competitive than it was on Saturday.
Talking with Blake Topmeyer of the Knoxville News Sentinel. Covers all Tennessee ball football here for us on TH each and every week that his schedule allows him to. I want to talk a few keys, because we got a couple minutes left, Blake, but I want to talk a few keys to this BYU game. What will Tennessee have to establish? And I know, in the first games you really don't have an identity, but coming off this film that Coach Pruitt and both offensive and defensive staffs have heading into BYU, what has to be established on the offensive side and the defensive side to get this taste out of this ball closed mouth? Because y'all know you can't have back-to-back home losses, in particular in a place like Knoxville.
Yeah, defensively, I look at the matchup up front. BYU's got a big offensive line, and as I mentioned, I think the defensive line is probably the biggest concern about this Tennessee team. So I'm looking to see, how Tennessee matches up in that battle of the trenches against BYU's big offensive line, and then how well does Tennessee do at limiting running quarterback Zach Wilson? Because this is. Last week, Tennessee really got hurt by Dan Ellington, Georgia State's running quarterback. Wilson is not so much of a run-first guy. I think he's a pass-first guy, but he's got great mobility. And so I think that's a tough matchup for the Vols. And then offensively, I guess I'm just curious to see if Tennessee can cut down on the turnovers. Last week, I actually thought that the offense was maybe kind of one of the silver linings to that game. Not that the offense was great, but it was okay. And would have been a lot better had Tennessee not had 3 turnovers. So if they can cut down on those turnovers, perhaps we can see that offense take the next step this week and be enough to cover up perhaps any deficiencies Tennessee has on defense.
Last quick question before I let you go, Blake. The atmosphere in the crowd, you think it's a full house for Game 2 there with the expectation of a better result. Well, how do you think Neyland Stadium's going to be vibing on Saturday?
I think there's going to be empty seats. We saw in the season opener an announced crowd of 85,000. That's a good crowd at most places, but that Neyland Stadium holds 102,455, so then that's a bit of a sparse crowd for Tennessee. Right. And coming off of that opening loss, I think there is a certain portion of this fan base that is kind of okay, show me some progress here before I spend my dollars to go out to come to a game. This is a passionate fan base, and that hasn't waned. This is still a really passionate fan base that's just craving a successful product. Right. But after back-to-back losing seasons and a clunker in the opener, I think there is fairly some fans that are, you're taking a cautious approach about spending their money coming to a game. I think there's going to be a lot of BYU fans there, though. It's a road fan base that travels well, so and a night game. So overall, yeah, I think it could be a crowd of 85 to 90,000, but I don't think we're going to see, anything approaching a sellout.
Hey, my man, always good to get the insight from you. Look forward to possibly having you back on next week, and we'll continue on this SEC journey. But today, hey, thanks for taking time out on the Hill.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Pat.
All right. That was Blake Chopmeyer of the Knoxville News Sentinel. Demetrius, hearing Blake, you sounds like a program that, we cover on a weekly basis, don't you think?
I really think they're doing worse than us right now. To lose to that type of caliber of school, I think they're looking like us last year, and I think that's the beauty of Arkansas is we have the ability to rewrite that. But it's going to take us to win some big games so we can get that monkey off our back to get it out the mud, as you always say.
Well, we're going to continue on. We caught up with true freshman wide receiver sensation, one of them. I'm calling it TNT, Trey Knox. And then following Trey, Nikki C with Rivals.com. She's on to talk about the new Diamond Gang. Arkansas picked up 2 over the weekend. We'll talk about those 2 and much, much more and get Nikki's take as well on the Arkansas-Ole Miss ball game that's going to take place. SEC opener on Saturday in Oxford. It's on the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ. 479. Back in a moment.
No, sir. It just scared me. That was the first time I got hit in my knee since I've had surgery. So it was just a scare.
That provides some relief for you?
Yes, sir. Yeah. I felt good afterwards being hit in it. So I'm not really worried about it anymore.
With the punt returns, when Deion went down, were you ready for it this time?
Yes, sir. I knew I had to step up. It was a big thing. It hurt us that he went down, but I told him that I had his back and I was going to go out there and help him out.
Both Coach Morris and Coach Craddock said you guys pretty much just ran a base offense. Do you think that might have helped? Those guys maybe diagnose what you were doing a little easier.
Yeah. I think they kind of made it a little bit easier on us as me and Trey as being freshmen. And, it helped out a lot. But I think this week, this Ole Miss week is going to be a lot tougher on us. We're going to have to do a lot more studying and film time, and so it'll be a big experience for us.
What was the overall assignment sound that you had in terms of getting depth and just meshing with Ben and the quarterback?
It really wasn't that much. We just had to execute on what plays we had and making sure we blocked when we weren't getting the ball and on the run, blocking, and then when we had our chances, made sure that we did impact on big plays.
What you gonna break first, long touchdown catch or a long power?
We just had to wait to see. So.
What did it mean to you and Trey to just, get starting assignments right when you walk in here,
It wasn't really like getting starting assignments. We had to earn it. We had to come and work every day. They didn't give us nothing. Yeah. So we had to come out and work and push ourselves and to be better and push the older players to be better. So, it wasn't like it was given to us. We had to earn it.
How much of that was a learning experience and how much better you think you'll be in game 2?
It was a big learning experience. It was my first time playing since last year. So that was a little nerve-wracking. And then other than that, I think I've been working on, we all as a team been working on a lot, getting better on what we didn't do last week. So I think it's going to be a great week.
You see how the Ole Miss secondary?
I mean, they're pretty good, but I feel like we're going to dominate. Just being honest with you.
Talk about how big it is to go against your secondary here, and that you get to go against every
Yeah, I
day.
mean, it's a big deal going against our own secondary. I mean, they push us every day. Cam Curl, Scooter, Sosa, Jaquez, Buster. I mean, they push us every day, and so that doesn't do anything but make us better.
To the fans.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. It's our Wednesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. We coming to you live each and every day, Monday through Friday. We're here on KDSJ 479. But real quick, want to give a shout out to all our sponsors before we continue on with our featured guest, a young lady that I know knows a lot when we talk Arkansas recruiting and, what the goings on about this Arkansas football team heading into Oxford for its SEC opener. Lindsay and Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville, also to an office location in Rogers. Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall, also to Corey Beck's Custom Painting. If you need it, commercial, residential, it needs to look good, contact Corey Beck. I'm sure he's going to get you straight. And lastly, our newest sponsor, KDK Chicken at 989 Razorback Road. I'm telling you, it's not your mama's. The best chicken in the South. Go down and see Kathy and Keith. There's a lot of love in those plates, I guarantee you. But now we're going to bring in a good buddy of mine. She does a great job covering Arkansas's program day in and day out. Nikki Chavanel of Rivals.com. Nikki C., welcome to OTH.
Hey, Pat. What's going on?
Nothing much. I know you're busy as you were down in Memphis, the Bluff City, and did quite the great interview with a young man that just over the weekend decided to be part of the Diamond Game, with that being Darren Turner. Talk about his commitment and how big is that for this program going forward to get a guy of his ability and game-changing to come to Fayetteville.
Yeah, well, Arkansas is getting a really, really talented wide receiver. He's another big guy, 6'3", 195, but he's also an athlete, so he plays safety. And, some people think that his ceiling is even higher at safety than at wide receiver. And I don't know if I've seen enough to say that, but he is a damn good safety. So Arkansas could be getting either a good pass catcher or a hard hitter. He had an interception in his game this past week that didn't have much going on offense, but the defense played well. And he's a really nice kid. I went down there on Thursday to shoot his commitment video really quick, and then I had that sit-down interview with him, and it's big time because he had 7 other really, really good offers, including LSU, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Auburn. So a lot of different offers. He went out to Alabama camp to try to, get them to let him commit over there, but it didn't work out, and Arkansas, gets to benefit from that. So great, another great Memphis get.
Chad talked about, getting that footprint in the state of Tennessee. You look over the your last 2 recruiting cycles, Trey Knox, Eric Gregory, Shamar Nash, and now you had Darren Turner. Martravius French will be another big-time linebacker. Who are some of the other Tennessee prospects, Nikki, that, Chad and that offensive or defensive staff would like to make, Arkansas, their home?
Well, Martavius French has another 4-star teammate, Bryson Eason. He's a linebacker, and he tweeted out this weekend, "Hog Nation, what can we do to, get my best friend to come play with me?" And I think it's kind of maybe only a matter of time. There are other schools interested, but he was looking at Florida, and Florida's not really looking to add another linebacker unless it's one of 2 guys that they have really high on their list. Otherwise, they're all set. And then there's Omari Thomas, who is a defensive tackle and an offensive tackle from Briarcrest Christian, which is S.J. Tui's old school, old high school. So he's got some nice connections there. But that one's going to be interesting because I remember I talked to Omari last year before the season even started, and a big thing for him was he wanted to see Chad Morris get some wins. That obviously didn't happen last year. And so far they have 1 win, but we'll see how it goes.
They picked up another one on Sunday following Arkansas's home opener. I believe Ketrell Wallace made an unofficial visit to Fayetteville for the game versus Portland State. He decided to be a Razorback, Nikki, which makes the third in-state commit in the 2020 Diamond Game class. How big is this for Chad? And what do you figure when you look at the film of Wallace? That defensive staff there at Arkansas. Where do they want to play him? Is it in, or will he be an outside linebacker? Or is it just let's get him here and figure out what he can help the team best at?
Yeah, well, he's got great size for defensive end, and I talked to him. He's 6'6", 210, and the coaches really want to bulk him up and move him to defensive end. I mean, he's a great outside linebacker. He's got great length, and at the high school level, he doesn't have to be as quick in the open field, so that works for him. But I think at the next level, I'm not sure if all that height's going to help him in coverage. But yeah, he's a great kid as well. I know that he's one of the guys that they wanted most in the state. There were 6 offers that went out. 3 of them are now committed, and the other 3, they didn't recruit very hard. So yeah, it looks good for them to get everyone you want.
Talking with Nikki Chavanel, covers all recruiting for Arkansas. She's with Rivals.com, Rivals 100, I should say. Nikki, talk about the 2021 class. September 1, coaches get to wake up and contact kids. You see a lot of Arkansas social media from their recruiting departments, and now a lot of information to those 21 kids. Talk about some of those guys, and who are some of the class of 21 names that Razorback fans and fans that cover your recruiting need to keep an eye on, and for the future going forward.
Well, they've offered over 100 kids already for the 2021 class, and I think the focus was so heavy on the 2020 class that they are a little behind.
Right.
Not too many kids have visited. It's just hard to get them to come up here, and then with the recent, the recent season, it just wasn't a priority for kids over the summer. Like, they didn't have to get to Arkansas, but I think it'll pick up during the season once, now they're able to contact the kids themselves. And I know that they did that for a bunch of the kids at the top of their list right when it hit midnight for the end of the dead period. Some guys I would keep an eye on from the Texarkana area, Landon Jackson and Clayton Smith. Landon, he's one of the top defensive ends in the country, and he has family up in this area. And then there are the Jones twins, their Razorback legacies in South Oak Cliff. Both linebackers. One of them got a bit more talent, but I imagine that both of them would end up here at Arkansas. So we'll see. A lot of kids, at this time, they're still taking a bunch of visits. It's only the best programs in the nation that have already gotten kids because they want to lock down their spots early.
Now, I got to get you your take on this 2019 version of the Arkansas Razorbacks. Had a game 120-13, not to the liking of a lot of Razorback fans throughout the state. I know you, as well as myself and multiple media members, constantly having to answer questions about this football team and their performance on Saturday. Talk about going forward. What are some things that Arkansas must do heading into Ole Miss on Saturday? To kind of ease some of the worry from the Razorback fans, because let's face it, Nikki, hadn't been all happy around here in the past few years.
Well, for one, they got to clean up execution. I think that game would have looked a lot better, and they would have been able to put in a lot of younger guys if they had just executed and done what they had to do. But drop passes, and then safe play calling kind of kept them from probably getting it in the end zone a couple more times. Ben Hicks didn't look too bad, but I mean, he's not going to play better than he's ever played before. He's going to play kind of how you expect, and that means wide receivers are probably going to have to make some outstanding catches.
Right. And you would know, Nikki, covering him at SMU.
Yeah. Like, when he had Cortland Sutton and Trey Quinn, those are NFL caliber guys who you can kind of expect to win balls that aren't even necessarily 50-50, but maybe even going slightly to the hands of a defender.
Right.
Like, he he kind of expected those guys to make plays, and while Arkansas's wide receivers might be NFL caliber someday, they're definitely not at this point. So they got to execute, but I think they'll be able to run the ball pretty well. And the offensive line, they'll continue to progress. Hopefully they can take it to that second level, like Joe Craddock was talking about this past Monday, and just open up a little bit more room in the running lanes. I think that really hurt, the number 2 and the number 3, Denwall Whaley and Chase Hayden this past week. They just were not able to get much into the second level.
All right, Nikki, as always, love your insight. We'll catch up as Chad will be speaking with us here in just a little over an hour and a half or so. But as always, thanks for your insight and thanks for taking time out here on OTH.
Thanks, Pat. See you soon.
That was Nikki Chevenel, covers all Razorback recruiting for the Arkansas Razorbacks. She works for Rivals100.com. I mean, she'll give it to you. You can catch all of Nikki's stuff. You follow her on Twitter at Nikki Chevenel and follow all her articles. But we're going to step away. I believe we have Greg Brooks Jr., freshman outside cornerback. We're going to hear from Greg, and then next up, we're going to talk a little LSU football. They got a big one down in the ATX versus the Longhorns. It's on the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
I feel like I did good, but I know what to do now. I know what to expect. The game a lot faster, making the transition last year. But I think I did good. And the defense did real good.
I feel it's going to be different playing on the road first game, I suppose.
Yeah, it's going to be way different atmosphere. We're going to Ole Miss, I think. Yeah, it'll be way different. So can't wait to see what it's like to play first SEC game.
What have you seen from their offense?
Really a lot of RPOs, inside zone. They have a little quick, shifty slot guy, so we got to key in on him.
Looked like their offense kind of got it together some in the second half. What was the difference you see from?
Really, I think they just got used to each other then and got the feel for the game. So we just got to come out fast and play well.
Any concerns with Gerald Loud and Jamario not practicing?
No concerns. We good. We're going to be just fine.
Looks like being here and going through spring practice and off-season conditioning really got you ready to play.
I feel like it helped me a lot. I gained like 20 pounds. I went from like 165 to 185. So I really think early enrolling helped me out a lot. And it helped me learning, like playing in the spring game helped me to see what they expect. Get used to the defense.
How was Saturday's game for you? Just like the speed of the game and how you felt like it?
At first it was kind of fast, but I feel like I adjusted after that. I think I did good.
What kind of critiques did coaches have for you after that game?
Really just play more of my style. More, don't be like laid back, be more aggressive, stuff like that.
Did you have any nerves going into the game?
Oh yeah, a lot of nerves. This is my first college game, so yeah, I ain't gonna mess up. So, but after probably like the first drive, I was good.
Problems with Corral, the Ole Miss quarterback.
He can throw the ball really well. He's a real good guy. And I don't think they're gonna run with him as much because I think he's their guy, so they're not gonna try to run with him. They gonna want him to throw it more.
But you young guys got snaps back there during that.
Welcome back. It's our Wednesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, coming to you each and every day here on KDSJ 479. And it's time to continue on. We want to head down to the Bayou where LSU will be traveling to Austin, Texas for a big top 10 matchup. And we thought we'd get a good analysis and get the 411. And what better way to do it than catch up with a good guy, a good friend of ours that knows what's going on in the eye of the tiger. Josh Lemoyne of LSU Football Truth. Josh, welcome to OTH, my man.
Hey, man. How's it going?
Going real good. I know it's going even better down there for Coach Joe and those LSU Tigers. They're heading to Austin. Josh, talk about, first of all, I want to go back to recap this past Saturday's game. A new offense. Joe Morrow, plays and throws the ball like Joe Morrow has not played and thrown that ball down there in the Bayou in a while. Talk about that game and what were some of the things that you see are going to be some strengths for this football team when they take on that burnt orange and white on Saturday?
Yeah, when you look at that game as a whole, I think every LSU fan wanted to see that new offense Because look, how many times over the years have we heard LSU's going to roll out a new offense?
Right.
Right. And at the end of the day, what do we get? We get the toss dive all over again, just a new formation. So to actually see LSU come out there and four spread, 4 wide receivers, 5 wide receivers spread, getting the ball out of Joe's hands really quick, running that RPO offense to perfection. It was such a happy sight for LSU fans as a whole that they have actually committed to the offense. So I think that was the big takeaway from, getting the feel of every LSU fan. They were just excited to see that LSU finally surpassed the days of Les Miles and the toss dive and, a cloud of dust. So, that was a positive takeaway from that. I think the defense pretty much was solid and played like LSU defense. I think that you got a lot of NFL guys on the defense. They lived up to the hype.
Right.
They came out and played. So, I think overall the takeaway was LSU played solid defense, what they kind of do almost year in and year out. But the talk of the town, I can tell you, is that offense. LSU's got a spread attack and a real spread attack.
Josh, when you look at this offense versus that Texas defense, Texas has a very veteran-type defense with a lot of big-time pros on that side of the ball as well. Talk about what LSU is going to have to do, offensively to have some success there in Austin on Saturday.
That's the big question. That's really what I want to see. Can they take it another week? Right? We've seen it against a smaller program, and it looked perfect. Now, can they do it against Texas? I think that's the question that's down here on the Bayou is, can Joe come out and perform like that at Texas? I don't think we expect 55 points, but can LSU come out and score 30 to 35 points against Texas and actually put some points on the board with that spread offense? LSU's going to come play defense. Texas has got a really good quarterback. Sam Ellinger, he's a baller. He's a Tebow type of guy, but with a better arm. But LSU's going to play defense. We know that. There's no way Sam's going to come out there and throw the ball for 500 yards and 6 touchdowns. That ain't going to happen.
Right.
So I think LSU needs to score somewhere between 28 to 35, and I think they win that game if they can do that.
Talking with Josh Lemoyne of the LSU Football Truth, is going to be newly joining our show. Hopefully, if we can get him each and every week to cover the LSU Tigers. But we all know, Josh, when you look at Texas, it's all about they're good in the box and they're good over the top, which makes Ellinger's job there at quarterback a lot easier. What I mean by good in the box is Keontae Ingram, a sophomore running back out of the Carthage area, and then those multitude of great wide receivers. The Texas offense versus LSU's defense and Coach Aranda, Lavian Chason, and those big time quarterbacks. Derek Stingley comes to mind, the true freshman there at LSU. Talk about that matchup. That defense versus Texas offense. What must LSU contain or take away from Texas on Saturday?
Yeah, I was doing a pregame show last night, and I got that same question. To me, it's going to come down, can LSU get a pass rush up the field with Chase on, with those linebackers, Rashard Lawrence. If LSU can get pressure on Sam and make him make some plays on the run, get pressure on him early, hit him, get him on the ground.
Right.
That's what LSU needs to do, to me, to win this game. If they allow Sam to get comfortable back there, throw the ball around, they got big wide receivers. I mean, I watched the Texas game 4 times. They got 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" guys playing wide receiver at Texas. LSU does have some All-Americans back there. We've got really good for DBU for a reason. They got the guys back there. But to me, honestly, it comes down to the pass rush. Can Chase on and those boys at LSU get a pass rush on Sam? Because, look, they have so many issues and injury at the running back position right now at Texas. I mean, to me, the one running back they got on scholarship, I just don't see Tom Herman coming out there and Coach Herman running him 25 times. If once he's hurt, you're down to a walk-on and a guy playing quarterback last week. So I think they're forced to throw it. Can LSU get pressure? Can LSU cover? I think that's what it's going to come down to.
Last question before we let you go. We got a couple minutes, Josh, and once again, I want to thank you for taking time. How big is this for the SEC as a whole? I mean, you hear all the time it means more in the SEC, and when you're playing the big bad Texas, one of the the pioneers of the Big 12. How big is this for the SEC and LSU going forward as a whole?
I'll tell you, it's I don't think it's the end all for the SEC. We go back and forth with the SEC, the Big 12, who's the better conference. At the end of the day, there's about 20, in my eyes, it's about 20, 25 programs in the country on any given day. If they're playing up to par, they can beat each other. You know what I mean? You do these 4 stars and it's 5-star junk and all that. At the end of the day, it's about 20 to 25 programs. If you're not playing, you're going to get beat. If LSU don't come with their top-notch game and playing some good football, they can get beat. You know what I mean? And I think it really matters more on the recruiting front.
Absolutely.
LSU does really well in Texas in recruiting. Okay, so if LSU can beat Texas, that's just another feather in the cap for Coach O saying, "Won't you come on down? Won't you come on down here to Bayou? Look, we beat Texas." So I think it's bigger on the recruiting front to me.
Hey, as always, man, we're gonna make you a part of this each and every week, giving us that LSU journey. If you'll accept the invitation, but as always, Josh, thanks for taking time out on the hill. And you have a blessed weekend. I know. Are you going to be going down to Texas and covering that game?
No, I won't be in Texas. I'll be down on the Bayou here covering it. But just stay tuned in to my Twitter and website, and we'll have a bunch of content.
All right. Have a blessed one, my man.
All right, you too. Thank you.
That was Josh Lemoyne. Will be our new Bayou Bengals SEC update each and every week. He's with LSU Football Truth. And Demetrius, we're going to bring in my producer as we've got a couple minutes to wrap all of our guests up. And I want to get D's take. That's what we're going to start having. First, I want to talk about Tennessee. What's your take from Topmeyer of Knoxville News Sentinel on just the pulse of that program going forward? In particular, they're playing another home game versus BYU on Saturday.
I think this is a must-win game. This is going to be the game that determines if they have any fans for the rest of the season. But you know what? I honestly can't say that, because what year was that where they lost like half of their first half-season games and then came back and won like 6 straight?
Right.
That was Butch Jones was still the coach when they went on that run.
Right.
Butch was still the coach. But I said all that to say, if they don't win this BYU game, it's going to be trouble bringing out the fans to come out there.
I totally agree. Like you said, you made a point earlier in today's show that they seem a little bit worse off than Arkansas. I would have to agree when you see 102 and there's 81,000. That's big time drop off. Now we move on to Arkansas and Nikki Chevanel. Arkansas picks up 2 commits. Also, too, Nikki feels kind of, Arkansas still in that 21 class, has to make up ground. She mentioned about the wins for these kids going to the big-time schools on unofficials. Also, her take on Ole Miss. What do you take from Nikki and her points, either recruiting or the Ole Miss ball game on Saturday?
I think it's going to tell a lot about our team. I think this is going to be one of the games that determine if we have fans come out this year. Because if you're going off how the fan base feels right now, I think it's a lot of people that's upset and have high expectations for this game. So
and you made points too, Demetrius. I mean, this is about recruiting. Same way that Texas LSU game. Arkansas and Chad are trying to make inroads into the state of Tennessee. Memphis is a big recruiting territory for Ole Miss and Mississippi State. So I think this game is, it's gonna sell a lot as far as recruiting inroads goes to the Brysons. And those guys, Amari Thomas and those guys, they'll be looking real intently on this ball game because they're being recruited by both schools. Chris Morris, another young man that's transferred to West Memphis, he comes to mind as well. Also, too, will probably be in attendance at that game. And lastly, Josh Lemoyne of the Football Truth, LSU, Texas. What were your takes from our segment with Josh?
I think it's an upside season for LSU. I think they're kind of going to be that surprise team out of the West that, people always had LSU being a good team, but I think this year from an offensive standpoint, I think people see they can put up points, and that really would make them dangerous. LSU has always been known for a high octane defense and having the ability to stop people, but they could never get to that 30 range. And I think Josh made a good point. I think LSU can beat anybody if they can stay in that 30-point range of game because they're going to stop you on defense. So, again, I think if they can figure out the offensive identity and have consistency throughout the year, LSU is poised to have a good year.
So it's all about the offensive identity. That just seems to be the common word, I think, for all college football in week one, the identity of the team. Because even though, Arkansas didn't play as well as they should have, probably could have played a lot better, there's still yet, an identity that we're going to try to, get a little more feel for when they come out this ball game in Oxford on Wednesday or on Saturday. Don't you believe?
Definitely. We got a little time left. So I think another team that's in one of those must-win kind of see where your program is Texas A&M, because Arkansas is going to be playing Texas A&M pretty soon. They're going against Clemson. So this is the crucial week for all SEC teams right now, because right now, if you look at the West, I just say the SEC as a whole, it just seems like we're kind of losing that dominance of being that Goliath, that conference that nobody can beat.
The top 12 teams in the country are SEC.
I mean, it's still early. There's still a lot of out of conference games, and then once we get into in conference games, you're going to see a lot of those ranked teams have to knock each other off. So it's going to be an interesting year.
Good point. Well, that's going to wrap up today's show. I want to give a big thank you and shout out to our sponsors, Lindsay & Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also two in Rogers, Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall here in Fayetteville, Corey Beck's Custom Painting, residential, commercial, or anything you want to look good, contact Corey Beck's Custom Painting. I'm sure you will not be disappointed. And our new sponsor, KDK's Chicken, at 989 Razorback Road, South Razorback Road. Go down and see Keith and Kathy and get a good plate of food. Like they always say, it's not your mama, best chicken in the South. But that's going to wrap it up. Give a thank you to our guest, Blake Topmeyer of the Knoxville News Sentinel, for coming on and giving us, just the temperature of down in Rocky Top, how Coach Pruitt and that staff are viewing this upcoming game versus BYU. Nikki Chevanel of Rivals.com. She came on and gave us the take. Arkansas got a couple new Diamond Gang members in the fold over the weekend. Also, too, gave us her take on the Ole Miss Arkansas ball game on Saturday. And lastly, Josh Lemoyne of the LSU Football Troop. He came on and we talked Longhorns and Tigers. It's going to be a big one down there in the ATX. Top 10 matchup on Saturday. And it has to be the game of the week in the SEC and probably in all of college football. But that's going to wrap it up. Until tomorrow, much, much more. We'll be making our way to football practice today to talk to Coach Chad Morris, as he's made available on Wednesdays, and also to more of the players and what you want to hear when it's all Razorbacks. We bringing it to you, I'm telling you. But that's going to do it for myself, for my producer, Demetrius Johnson. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. You guys have a blessed one. And lastly, let's get it.